Hello and welcome to the Champions League Villa Park podcast. This is your talking tactics show, reflecting now on what was a vital point against Liverpool. Aston Villa 3, Liverpool 3, and as always, joining me to analyse that game is our favourite football expert, Gareth. How are you doing, mate? I mean, what can you say?
Yeah, we were just talking off, weren't we? Absolutely buzzing. Woke up this morning thinking it's just incredible where we were when he took over, 16th, something like that. Incredible that the job that he's done and them players with a depleted squad as well, to still maintain where we have finished or where we will finish. It's just incredible. I mean, I always thought we'd get to 71 points, as we talked about many times. I still think we'll get there. It's a tricky game at pace. Might be a bit more relaxed. You're looking probably at a draw now for both sides, isn't it? Depending on what happens, but. Oh, absolutely fantastic to be watching football on a Tuesday and a Wednesday night instead of a Thursday next season. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. And as I said, what helped us get there was a stirring comeback against Liverpool. Aston Villa 3, Liverpool 3. We've got our usual visuals. We've got your screenshots that you've done as well to help kind of analyze that performance. But just in general, great character shown by the players.
Yeah, it was. It was. I think that was the game that we all feared, wasn't it? Is that Liverpool don't have a particularly great record against them. Yeah, we've done City and Arsenal at Villa Park, but it's very, very different. Liverpool are a different beast altogether, and I think to show that spirit at 3-1 down when we all thought, oh, the legs are going to go, here we go again, but to come back, and we didn't see it, let's be honest, I don't think a lot of us saw it coming, but
No.
they did it. Incredible.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's look at the tail of the tape. Villa possession 41.5%, Liverpool 58.5%. Sorry, what's that PPDA? I always forget that.
Yeah, passes per defensive action, so it's the pressing
That's right.
intensity of the two sides. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. I mean, corners fairly even, crosses fairly even. Yeah, I mean Liverpool quite a few more passes in the opposition half, but not too bad, and I guess it kind of tells a kind of even tale of the game almost.
Yeah, it does. When I looked across, sort of like plotted all the data that we'll see, all the numbers were quite even. It was quite an even game according to numbers, and they don't lie. The performance, I think it was quite an equal game. If you spread it out over the full game, I think it was quite an equal game. And like I say, most of these numbers that we're going to show and everything else will show that.
Yeah. Well, let's see the game flow. This is a new slide that you've done here, and that does tell the kind of tale that there was, passages of play for Liverpool, passages of pressure and play for Villa, and that shows exactly what it was there.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that there's a period sort of like between, sort of the 10 and 15 minute mark. You could say that just before or half time, they sort of, and then after 60, after the substitutions, etc., from 60 minutes onwards, we were kind of pretty much dominating the game. I wouldn't dominating is probably a strong word, but we were well within it, and that period we can see, this is where this sort of index is so important, that after 80 minutes, look at those two goals in quick succession. And we'll see that again on the XG timeline about why that is so important.
Yeah. We'll come to that in a minute. Our usual passing network. Anything particular that you notice in here, Gareth?
I mean, yeah, I mean, we don't often see a lot of sort of high intensity passing down the right hand side, do we, from Carlos to Conza? But I think, and I tweeted at the time, keep Bailey wide and feed him, because that is the outlet. That is always the outlet for us, it seems lately. And it's a pretty much a 4-2-3-1 we can see. But a lot of the time we've seen a lot of 4-3-3s lately. We've sort of, Watkins in central and sort of players either side of him. But I think the positioning of McGinn was important on that left-hand side. I think they were worried about Trent. I think McGinn coming inside into that position is almost where Trent likes to operate as an inverted right back. So again, we'll see that in a little bit. But yeah, that sort of stood out to me quite a bit, that did.
Nice. And then the expected threat in terms of the contribution for passes and set pieces. Leon Bailey, Luca Dean, featuring quite heavily. John McGinn and Moussa Diaby, so 4 players in the top 5 there for Villa. Shows, we did have quite a lot of threatening attacks, and it obviously bore out in the game.
Yeah, really important for Leon Bailey as well, because a lot of that is from, it's a decent number. 0.41 is a decent expected threat number for a game. And most of his was actually from open play. So it's not all from set pieces or anything like that. It was really good to see that, and important in open play for him to be able to provide that for the team.
Yeah, and particularly as he's almost been playing on one leg of late, but he seemed like he seemed to be moving a little bit more freer. And you've talked a lot about Bailey and his kind of improvement over the year, but what's impressed me so much more lately is his ball retention. There's 2 or 3 players around him. He can keep the ball. He can drop it off. He can jink inside players. Yeah, just that. Because before, maybe a year or so ago, 2 years ago, he would just lose the ball. Whereas now, you just have every confidence that he's just going to keep it, and that just increases his own threat as well to the opposition.
Yeah, I think he's sort of playing more as a winger, isn't he? He's playing more of a winger style rather than sort of being able to sort of just sort of burst down the line. I think he's playing with more attack wing play, if you like, and I think that's important. I do worry a little bit that whether if he didn't have Konsa behind him, how would we get on defensively down that right hand side? So if we bring in, say, a more attacking right back, how does that pan out for us?
Yeah, yeah. No, it's fair. It's fair. And I think there's other areas where we need to improve defensively as well, as we know. But we were talking last night, the trade-off. The number of goals we've scored this season is absolutely crazy. And yes, we're missing a couple of vital players. I think a couple of additions into the team will kind of shore up that defense. But yeah, I mean, it's just a different level of football we're watching at the moment. It's just fantastic. Um,
Yeah, it is. I think, yeah, especially in that right hand side. I think if Matty Cash was just that little bit level, and I'm not knocking him, but that little bit level higher, defensively aware, I think we'd be okay down that side. I think
mm.
that's probably where it is. I think that's just where it lies, really.
Yeah, definitely. The expected threat in terms of the locations, anything in particular that you're noticing here?
I like a lot of those passes inside the box there on that right hand side, and that is Leon Bailey. A lot of that, you can see that a lot of them are inside the box. Those sort of expected threat passes that are hitting a higher number. The numbers again are probably a little bit higher than that via, different, but we could sort of argue about that day and night. But yeah, really good to see some of them inside, a lot more inside the box than what we've seen. And also, we should also point out that a lot of Liverpool's ones aren't actually being played from inside the box. So it just shows you that something is working a little bit better lately.
Mm, yeah, yeah. And you
And
did point
sorry,
out,
sorry, Rich, can you just go back a minute?
yeah,
I just want to point out that Villa pass is the Carlos pass that he missed. Can you see that
which what?
inside that 6 yard box?
Oh yes, yeah, yeah. And he pushed Watkins out of the way for it. That's the worst part about it.
Okay, let's move on now. I just needed to point that out.
The timeline, you wanted to point that out, and you just mentioned there about the importance of those 2 John Duran goals in quick succession, and that shows you there right in front of us what happened.
Yeah, I mean, again, as we always state, this is from Understat. The actual XG is for Villa is probably about 3.2, so it is actually a little bit higher than that, which is even better for us. But yeah, I mean, Understat plot it at 2.7, so it's really good. I mean, to do that against Liverpool, and that's what I say. Win the 2.7, you've exceeded your XG by scoring the 3 goals, and that means the shot quality is better, and you're converting those chances. And I think to start off really well, to get that 1 goal lead was really good. I think if you go 2-0 down, I think it might have been a little bit more shaky, but at 2-1, we're not doing too bad. But the two goals at the end, perfect timing.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get into your analysis in terms of the images in a second, but guys, we have had some amazing growth on the channel. I'm not surprised. Why not celebrate? We've hit the Champions League, but please, we want to hit 4K before the end of the season. It'd be amazing to do it. We are on about 3,850 right now, so not too many more to do. So please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel or if you haven't subscribed yet, and get your comments in below on your thoughts on the performance against Liverpool and just generally celebrating us getting in the Champions League. Let's just keep doing it. It's amazing stuff. So Gareth, let's get into the analysis. There's a few slides we wanted to focus on. Um, First one being this early confusion and just needing better communication from the players.
Yeah, the commentator picked up on it that Luca Digne started the game quite poorly, and I would agree with that. He wasn't sure. He just wasn't sure whether to pick up anyone coming onto the inside of him instead of sort of staying that little bit wide. The ball's clearly going to go probably over that side, and I think John McGinn there doesn't help the cause as well. I just think that they need to drop a little bit. Elliott was a problem for Villa, and they sort of picked up on it sort of reasonably well, but the first sort of 20 minutes, he was a real problem for Villa. He was dropping off and picking up the ball. He was then going wide, and they weren't quite sure what to do with him. So, yeah, I was a little bit worried about that to start off with. But then we seemed to sort of go the other way, and sort of attack was the best form of defence. So we kind of sort of marshalled it quite well. But Trent coming inside again, just near McGinn there, just in front of McGinn. So it's a little bit of a quandary there. So I was just a little bit concerned about it, but we sorted it out eventually, I think.
Yeah. And they say watching Trent positionally, could we have been better? What do you think we maybe could have done to stop him from picking up the ball in these
Yeah,
areas?
I just think we could have pushed up probably. I don't know whether what the pressing strategy was. I just think here we probably could have pushed up 5 yards, and that means McGinn sort of pushing into midfield there on Endo, and Louise sort of he was the man who was to jump. So if Watkins and Diaby had to press Van Dijk or Quansah, then it was Louise's job to jump in and press Trent. And we saw on multiple occasions he was there, he was going back, he was there, he was going back. He wasn't sure what to sort of whether to press or whether not. But I think they got that right.
Yeah, I mean Trent had a couple of decent passes, but nothing majorly threatening, and they do like to make that extra man in midfield. But I thought we coped with it quite well, and I think having that pace of Diaby and Watkins and Tielemans made a big difference in us, springing attacks to expose Liverpool, which, like you said, attack was the kind of the best form of defence in the end.
Yeah.
And then here, saying back to what we know, um, we saw a lot of it. Was sometimes we're trying to force it, but are you kind of pointing out to the passes through the team rather than trying to go, more
Yeah.
kind of ponderous around them?
Yeah, exactly that. We've kind of late, we've kind of drifted away from that 4-2-2-2 shape that we normally see. We've sort of rather to stay in a 4-4-2. We don't really sort of play that 4-2-2-2 anymore. So, but this is what I wanted to point out. This was actually coming onto a goal, I think. And Carlos does actually play that ball. He maneuvers the ball, and the players move around a little bit. That ball does actually go into John McGinn. And this is what we did so well. Vertical passing straight up the pitch and play through the lines. And that's exactly what we used to do, and we did it so well, and we kind of drifted a little bit away from that. Now, whether that's because of sort of certain injuries to certain players, I don't know, but be braver on the ball. And I think Powell didn't do a lot of that, but Carlos tried it a few times, and this is when it came off, and Ginny's able to turn, and then you what we call padding. You took 5 or 6 Liverpool players out of the game, and it worked really well when we did it. Just back to what we know a little bit more.
Yeah, 100%. Now, exposing Trent Alexander-Arnold here and stretching the centre backs. I think this is the first goal where Watkins gets in behind Quansah. What did we do really well here?
Yeah, I mean, it might be a bit of a controversial thing, but I think Trent is a poor right back defensively. I think offensively, I think he's really good. Defensively, I think he struggles with what he's being asked of him a lot of the time. And Villa did that really well. Trent goes into midfield, as we know, as the inverted right back. And then Watkins and Bailey, really good on the counter. They managed to stretch Van Dijk and Quansah on quite a few occasions. And this worked really well. And judging by the arrows here, which is what I've pointed out, is that is the space, the right back space. Quansah is having to go out there, and Van Dijk is obviously sort of trying to keep an eye on Leon Bailey. But I thought we did this really well in stretching that Liverpool back line when Trent was in midfield. And I think that was part of Douglas Luiz and the press. I think it was orchestrated really well.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was like you said before about back to what we know. It was right back to what we know. Win the ball and then
Yeah.
spring through quickly and play those those kind of passes right into the heart, into the danger, and we know we've got pace and players that are confident and skillful to capitalise. So it was really good to see.
Yeah, exactly
Um,
that.
Anticipation of the cross, was this a lack of anticipation or was this actual anticipation? What were you sort of pointing out here?
Yeah, the former, are more of a lack. I think this is just one example from John McGinn, which was a fantastic cross, really good. I just think this is where Diaby. I'm not blaming them as such, but I just think that's when he's not sure whether he's a centre forward or whether he's in the number 10 or what is he doing, And I think this happened a couple of times on Luca Digne where Watkins and Diaby were a little bit sort of 5 or 10 yards off the pace. They weren't in there as such, and I think there were quite a few opportunities there for sort of players to get in that box a little bit. And I think that's where we lack at times. We've spoken about not having enough players in the box before. I think that's something that we can probably improve on, is maybe crossing from these sorts of positions, and bursting into the box that little bit later. I just think we could have been a little bit better at that against Liverpool.
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? Because you do see sometimes, let's say for example, the two times before that, John McGinn or Luca Dean or whoever's in that position, Watkins and Diaby make a run and he cuts back and he plays it back, and then the time when someone does cross it in, they're not there. So
Yeah.
it's like a chicken and egg situation, isn't it? But I do absolutely agree with you. Maybe Watkins just needs that other goal, and you're just thinking like just get in the box and gamble on it. But splitting hairs a little bit. But yeah, definitely an area where we could do with being that little bit more clinical. But I said before, I mean, it turned out to be an absolutely vital point in the quest for Champions League. They showed real character. We talked about players kind of being, tired or whatever, but the mindset of the players, and this is what they do the training for. This is what they do the training at altitude for these moments where you've got to dig into the depths to get yourself back into it, and this is the reward that you get.
Yeah, I think it does make you think. I did thinking about it last night and thought, if we hadn't got anything out of that Liverpool game, would that have changed Spurs' mindset last night? And that's more than possible. So I think that is a really good point in the context. It just sort of puts you that little bit further or touching distance away from Spurs. And I think they struggled with it, But yeah, fantastic. What a point. I think that is probably a really good one.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, look, one more game to go in this amazing season. And yeah, it's been a pleasure doing this talking tactics with you as well, Gareth. I mean, 20 Premier League wins across the season so far. I think it's only 8 or 9 defeats as well. So it's just brilliant doing this show where we're analysing victories as rather than analysing defeats. And yeah, hopefully we've brought you guys who are watching a bit of an insight into it. But yeah, thank you to you, Gareth. It's been amazing. Where can people find you on X as you are most of the time?
Yeah, you can find me on Analytics GC, and we've also put like a bit of a request line on there today. So if you want to see any radars or bar charts for players, especially that Villa want to see coming in, get in touch with us with some names or positions or whatever, and we'll do another show, I think, later on.
Absolutely, yeah. We're going to do certainly one in the next couple of weeks. I think maybe 5 players who can really improve Villa. So the top 5 players who we think can really improve Villa going into next season. But more shows over the pre-season, focus on some of the players that Villa might be linked with as well. And I know you do your scouting report as well over the summer. So we'll bring plenty of shows to you in terms of tactical analysis and player analysis over the summer. But guys, thank you all for watching. We are in the Champions League. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We have got a preview for Crystal Palace to come this week, match reaction for Crystal Palace. So plenty more shows to come. Thank you as always for watching. And as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.